Next up on the Rebels Edge, what happened to the Roaring Kitty followers? We're going to cover some solar stocks that are doing really, really well. And I don't know if you can tell, folks, but I'm coming to you live from Cardone Enterprises Studios here in Miami, Florida. More on that on the Rebels Edge next.
All right. Here we are, the Rebels Edge. I got my man Marc LoPresti over there, and he is down there in Miami, Florida, with our good friend and business partner, Grant Cardone. What's going on, Marc? How's everything? Good?
Yeah, I am literally fresh out of an Uber, off the plane. Our regular viewers will go, Marc is usually not that casual. Well, this is what you get, folks. The flight was an hour delayed due to a weather system, so I'm not, pinstripes and collars and handkerchiefs. But yeah, I am here in Grant's incredible 10X studios. You and Jon have done a number of spots from here. You guys will be joining me tomorrow and Friday as we shoot some really great content with Grant and his team in furtherance of some big announcements that we're going to be making. Those of you that caught Pete and Jon on stage with pyrotechnics and Arnold Schwarzenegger and people of that nature 6 weeks or so ago. No, we've got some really big stuff that we're going to be announcing about our partnership with Grant. But what a studio. Look, they've even got the Market Rebellion logo up there, right?
These guys are pros, man.
It's cool as hell. I just love being here and shooting content with these guys.
And I can't wait to join you. I know Jon's coming from parts unknown. He was out there with the donkeys, and next thing you know, he's going to be out there with the Dolphins. So, the guy's he's always there to please, right? He's got something always up his sleeve somewhere. All right, Marc, let's jump into the macro minute. And I wanted to start off with this CPI report. And a lot of people were saying, well, it doesn't make any sense. Why are they reacting so positively to the CPI report? And what I don't understand is this. It actually isn't just about the year ago, April, where they are. They're right in line. Okay, so that's there. But how about the fact that they actually, month over month, that's where things actually look a little bit better. That's where people, I think, started looking and saying, hey, look, maybe we actually do have a shot at some cuts into the future, or at least a cut, maybe cuts as well. But I think that's something that's got everybody pretty excited, and I think that's why we're seeing the kind of a push that we are. And so that's going to remain what I would call my macro minute.
Yeah, listen, for those of you playing along the home game, remember the last time this printout came out last month, it was quite a different picture. So the markets are breathing a sigh of relief that we didn't get that kind of a print this time. You combine that with the commentary, we covered it on yesterday's show, of Jay Powell in Amsterdam at the Foreign Bankers Convention or whatever the heck he's doing, talking fairly hawkishly, really, when you think about it, saying we're not getting inflation in check. It's not where we want to be. They're nowhere near their 2% target, Pete. I think that's a target that's got to be dispensed with. It's nonsense, by the way. It's almost a meaningless goalpost at this point. But yeah, it's a tenth of a basis point beat, meaning inflation not getting hotter than the street was looking for. It's still going up, by the way, folks. It's not that it's going down. It's going up. I still have to clarify that in cocktail party conversation. But that's all it takes right now against this backdrop of markets and traders saying, hey, look, man, we still priced in 2 cuts this year, 50 bips, certainly not before September. But if you take that off the table and you start thinking about hiking, we got a problem.
Yep. I'm with you, man. I'm totally with you. All right, let's jump to the fantastic futures. And I'm going to go to something that you brought up yesterday, Marc. I'm going to go to cocoa. Because if you go back to April 19th, it was 11,700 per metric ton. Okay. Yesterday, it was getting slaughtered. Today, 7,450. So that gives you a little bit of an idea. It's still up significantly year to date. It's up like 78% year to date, 137% over the last 52 weeks. So we still have something there, but they're talking about a damper weather because the problem has been a lot of this being weather related. Too much rain, Marc, actually has been the problem for cocoa, which is, and we've talked about this before, it's actually services not just foods and things like that we want sweetened up a little bit, but also for the medical side as well. So it does have that dual purpose for sure. People are definitely kind of interested in it, but I think with this weather, it's bringing that price down. So that might help a little bit of an inflation too. It all helps if we can get it to work together. So who knows? It kind of plays into this whole CPI and all the rest of it as well.
Yeah, rain is disinflationary unless you're in the raincoat and umbrella business. Look, my fantastic futures really, really quick is Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin is up almost 5% to 65,000 and change in the last 24 hours since we did yesterday's show. Ethereum not far behind, up 10% to 29.77. Traders wondering what is causing that kind of momentum. If you see hawkish commentary, sometimes people think, well, it kind of acts like digital gold, so it goes up if we're going to be higher for longer. I don't think anybody really knows, but it's something interesting to keep an eye on, Pete.
Sure. All right, let's jump to our stocks real quick. We're going to go over to Monday.com. It says Israeli software company. Mark, they did what everybody's been doing for the most part. Not everybody, though. Mm-hmm. They crushed it, right? They beat, and that's what you're looking for. That's what this market has been really all about this past quarter is how many beats we've seen on earnings, how many beats or at least meets that we've seen on revenue. Well, these guys did a great job. Fundamentally, this company, the balance sheet looks fantastic. They got cash to debt of $1 billion, free cash flow, $174 million. They got about 5% short interest. This stock is up 20% today, near the 52-week highs. I'm not sure if it actually did hit them or not, but when you're looking for 40 cents on your earnings and you hit 61 cents, you're doing something right. When you've got revenue that's up 34%, you're doing something right. You give a strong outlook. Now that's what everybody's waiting for. That's why this stock is moving the way it is this morning.
Yeah, no doubt. And this is a company that's in a sector or a niche, if you will, that Wall Street is still very much in love with, right? This is workflow management. So think Asana and Slack and companies like that. I've actually used Mondays and other companies that I've been involved with. It's pretty darn good. Your messaging and your project management type stuff. This is also, I know we guessed it. If you had data on your Mark bingo card today, take a little red stamp. This is also a data-driven business. They're implementing AI. I'm still bullish on this one, Pete. Shocker, right? I'm still bullish on this one because I think they still, even if they hit a 52-week high today, I might look to leg into this on pullbacks that affect tech in general. But don't bet against data. Don't bet against Monday. I like this company.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Next, we're going to go to those meme stocks. And let me kind of lean in just a little bit because Roaring Kitty was talking about this, and I'm going to lean in too. Hey, Dave Portnoy, you talked about, hey, where did I didn't get it, the heads up. I'm not on the inside. I don't know what's going on. Well, I don't know. Maybe Jared could throw up on the screen for us some of the unusual option activity that we have seen in this name. And oh, by the way, take a look at those dates. April 24th, they're buying the 12 calls. On April 25th, they're buying the 11 calls. On the 26th, the 25 calls. On the 29th, the 12 and a half calls. And again, they went to the June 11s on May 1st. Let me tell you something. When a stock goes up, it was as high as I think $75 yesterday, but that was pre-market. So I think the official highs of the trading day was something around $64. You saw where those unusual options were getting bought, right? I was reading off those numbers, right? Think about that for just a moment. That's why we are Market Rebellion. That's why we do what we do with the unusual options that we see out there. And it makes it that much easier because it's like somebody kind of tapping you on the shoulder and leaning in and saying, hey, these shorts are going to get smoked. And a matter of fact, some of the estimates were that they might have lost somewhere between 1.5 and 1.6 billion dollars yesterday on those shorts, Mark. So Roaring Kitty made a big splash, first time since 2021. Very, very interesting to see what's going on in the meme stocks today. And by the way, the volumes still off the charts. Even though they're all backpedaling and they're dropping, there's still huge volumes in these stocks.
Just goes to show you don't need to get your insights from a guy with a cat hanging poster in the background. Come to Market Rebellion. We'll do you right and probably even more precisely. And, the other thing I'll say, and we'll move on to the next one, Pete, the whole concept of looking at these short setups, understanding the technical side of it, looking at what happens historically when large short interest and large short positions build in some of these names is something that I've always been really fascinated by, and we're looking at maybe bringing some of that data into Market Rebellion. Who knows? I might be tempted to do that.
Yeah, that might be coming sometime soon. Everybody keep in mind on that. All right. How about dLocal? Let's jump to that one, Mark. Payment solutions. Now, I talked earlier about everybody's stepping over their earnings, right? It's like 82%, I think, are beating on their earnings. I found one that's not. dLocal. Now, why is this stock down 27% today? Well, because they couldn't hit the earnings. Matter of fact, they missed by a significant amount. They missed on their net income was down 51% this past quarter. Their earnings were 6 cents versus the 11 cents that they were trying to get to. Didn't even get close to that. It's a huge turnover today, about 6 times normal in the first hour of trade in terms of share volumes that we're seeing. And the stock was very, very close to 52-week lows. All of that makes sense. I see no reason. This is one of those where, okay, it sold off. Did it sell off for the wrong reason? No, it's the right reason. That's why this is not a buy down here. I think it's something where you're going to have to wait another quarter or so. And can they make the turn? Because they certainly didn't this last quarter.
Yeah, gee, I get the sense you don't like the stock, Pete. I'm not sure why I'm getting that sneaking suspicion. And look, by the way, I don't have much love for this company either. And particularly given that they are in a space that is explosive, that is supposed to have tremendous growth, that certainly had a ton of VC and professional investors pouring into it, and that is payment processing solutions, B2C, B2B, and C2C payment solutions, particularly in the developing world. This company is based in Uruguay, if I remember correctly. That's supposed to be an area of explosive growth. So I don't know how you get over your skis this badly, but it, even as cheap as it looks right now, I think it's hitting the 52-week lows just as I before we went live here. I'm not touching it.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's no reason. There's no reason.
Yeah.
There's too many other stocks out there. Let's be honest. How about Sportradar? Let's jump onto that one now. Now, that's actually up a little bit today. It's not a major thing, but their numbers actually did stand out for me. And I'm looking at this company. They do a lot of different things, one of which is betting. And their betting technology, that's up about 35% year over year. That's 82% of their revenue coming from that, which is 35%. Geographically, the U.S. is up 65%. But they're only 25% of what these guys do. The rest of the world makes up the other 75%. So I like what we're seeing here. There's a lot of reasons to like this stock. I just don't quite know it well enough, Mark. I'm still looking at it. I find it very interesting. I like what they were able to put out there. 52-week lows were where it started not too long ago, but it's made a very, very nice move to the upside. I like what this thing is doing today. It's moving for the right reasons, but it's not sprinting, which is, it kind of makes me sort of scratch my head and say, maybe not now. Maybe if it pulls back, I start to take a look at this thing.
This is Sportradar. This is a really interesting company, Pete, and I'd encourage you to get to know it because it combines like chocolate and peanut butter, two of our favorite things, sports and data. These guys, I actually worked with them when we were doing some stuff at Battlefin. Shameless plug, I'm wearing the Battlefin what does my daughter call this? The Finance Bro vest here. So I'm rocking my Battlefin Finance Bro vest. By the way, shameless plug, next week, the 21st and 22nd, New York City, USS Intrepid, iconic aircraft carrier that we rented for a couple days. Jon and I will be on stage talking about investing in data companies, the next unicorn for data. Jon and I are going to do a fireside keynote. If you haven't signed up for that yet, go to battlefin.com, smash the registration button, and come see us on the Intrepid. But having said that, these guys were one of the first to harness data for the purpose not only of sports marketing, understanding audience measurement and management, but also, Pete, using some of the alternative data techniques that have been applied to finance in terms of sports management and even on-field play. Really interesting company. Not sure why it's not going even higher on this news, other than perhaps concerns around how much more can they grow in terms of the size of their total addressable market. But we like this company, and I was a customer of theirs when they were still private back in the day.
Wow. Yeah, it is interesting. And for the fact that they looked like those numbers were so good, Mark, why isn't it up a little bit more? That was my one concern. And that makes me think that there's something I don't know about them that I wanted to just push back a little bit and wait. So we'll see. All right, we're going to jump to the Minnesota Timberwolves, Mark, and here's why. This is a team that near and dear to my heart, used to be a season ticket holder. I really love them. They're playing the Denver Nuggets. And for some reason, even though we went to Denver and we won the first 2 games, we come back to Minnesota. There's a long break in between there. And then we lose the next 2 games, right? And everybody in Minnesota was suddenly thinking we were the world champs, we're the NBA champions, everything is great. And I kept looking, going, hey, look, winning 2 games isn't what you got to do. You got to win 4. Let's not start counting those chickens, right? And I think a lot of people really got on the wrong side of this thing and just suddenly figured, well, Denver's just going to roll over. Well, let me just add this, by the way. Jokic, he's not that bad of a player. In Game 5, which they won, and now they're up 3-2, he had 40 points. He had a double-double. He played 41 minutes. He got 15 of 22 for his field goals. And by the way, he also just became the MVP of the league. And, he's only the second player ever to score 2,000 points, 900 rebounds, and 700 assists. I mean, this guy is a baller, and he did turn it up. He did start to show up. And now this has gotten to be a very interesting, period of time for the Timberwolves because they got to bounce back. They do get to go to Minnesota, but they've already lost 2 in Minnesota. The only 2 games they won were out in Denver. So it's going to be a very, very interesting thing to see how this all plays out. I love my guy, Anthony Edwards. I think he's great. I think that they've got a lot of the pieces to the puzzle. Hopefully they can steal one more so we can get a Game 7 because that would be a lot of fun. But what do you think about this, Mark? Is there a team, and maybe it is the Knicks? I don't know. I know you've got some New York ties, but what do you think of the Knicks? Because I'll tell you what, Brunson's absolutely shooting the lights out.
They've been looking really good lately, Pete. And yeah, look, the Joker, as they call him, is the primary road bump in between Minnesota's attempt at winning Game 5 here for sure, and he looks unstoppable. But yeah, I was watching the game last night, actually, where my daughter and I were having dinner at one of our local restaurants in New York City, and I looked up and I saw there was a basketball game on, and the team was playing so well. I actually said, "Is that that's the Knicks?" Holy cow! So, yeah, it's not been easy to be a Knicks fan in New York City over the past 20 years. It's kind of ebbed and flowed, but it's going to be very interesting to see. I'm really going to be curious to see how Minnesota fares.
Yep. I'm still proud of what they've done so far, but I do want them to get to the next level. Let's get out of where we are. They beat the Phoenix Suns. They've got to beat the Nuggets. It's going to be tough. But I think that they've got all the tools. They just haven't put them together because they might have started reading all the press clippings about how good they were when they were up 2-0. I don't know. All right, Mark, how about Tom Brady? Have you heard about this roast that he did? I mean, it's hard not to have heard something about it. 13.8 million viewers in week 1 of the roast, which I think might top things for Netflix. It's absolutely amazing. Kevin Hart obviously was the host. There's a lot going on. Tom Brady, I wonder if he, and I think he does, regret the fact that he was part of this roast. And anybody who's old enough to know, there was a great show forever about the roasts and all the rest of it, but it was always a little bit more kind. These days when they do roasts, they usually aren't quite as kind. They go a little bit below the belt. And I think that's what Tom Brady's kind of feeling like, because there were some shots thrown out there that didn't really settle too well with his ex-wife or with his children. He's got 3 of them. And I think Tom is thinking to himself, why did I do this? I've got all the things that I need in the world. Why did I do this? And that's kind of where he stands right now. So my question for you is, if you were able to have somebody offer you a significant amount of money, would you be willing to be in a roast?
It depends.
Mark?
Okay, so I'm a big fan of the Comedy Central roasts. Okay, some of them are side-splittingly funny, depending on who the one is being roasted and who the roasters are. So I would have to make my answer to that question contingent upon who's roasting me. Is it you and Jon, or other sort of friends of mine who know a lot of, the skeletons in the closet? Could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, who knows? But it's definitely a dangerous move. And Pete, don't forget, before we sign off, we do have a very quick small cap spotlight to cover today.
Yeah, and let's do that. Let's do that right now. There it is, the small cap spotlight. What do you got for us today?
In today's small cap spotlight, we are continuing to follow the story of BioLargo. This is a small cap company. John and I are investors and advisors. Disclaimer, both verbal and at the top, and all that fine print that you get to read. These guys just announced their Q1 results yesterday. They're absolutely blowing the doors off. Q1 revenue, $217 million. That was a 34% increase year over year, Pete. It's really remarkable what they're doing. They are the distributors of that odor remover called Poof. You've probably seen the commercials that play quite a bit. They're also a leader in the remediation of PFAS. This is something that's unfortunately a contaminant in our water system in this country, something that I'm passionate about in terms of the environment and getting rid of this terrible chemical. So check them out. Their press release just came out yesterday. BLGO is the symbol, and our producer Jared was just showing a little B-roll from the last time John and I had CEO Dennis Calvert on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, updating us on what's going on with the company. And that is today's Small Cap Spotlight.
Outstanding. Really appreciate it. That was fantastic. I love it. I'll tell you what, I think tomorrow's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a different version of Rebel's Edge or whatever, but I think you and John are in charge of that. We got a lot of things going on. I got to get to Miami, so I'm signing off right now. I'll see you later, Mark.